I never imagined the day I returned home unannounced would be the day I almost lost my daughter. The daughter I walked away from in anger. I thought leaving would prove a point. Instead, it nearly cost her life. This is my story, and my punishment, and perhaps my second chance. My name is Margaret, though most people call me Maggie. For years, my world revolved around my two children, my son Adam and my youngest, my bright, stubborn star, Lily. We weren't a perfect family, but we were a family until the night everything fell apart. I remember the anger, sharp, hot. Loud. Lily was yelling again, slamming doors, accusing me of favoritism, saying I didn't understand her. I shouted back, words I never meant to say poured out like venom. You think you have it all figured out, I snapped. You're still just a child. She screamed at me, maybe you should just leave. You never listen anyway. And in my pride and stupidity, I did. I grabbed my purse and keys, slammed the door behind me, and drove. I drove until the city lights were just a faint glow in my rearview mirror. I told myself it was for the best. A night or two away to let things cool down. I'd teach her a lesson about taking me for granted. Adam would look after her, I reasoned. He was responsible. He'd always been the calm one. So I checked into a cheap motel, turned off my phone, and stewed in my own self-righteous anger. One day turned into two into three. Each morning a little voice whispered, "Go home, Maggie," and each morning my stubborn pride shouted it down. Not yet, I'd tell myself. She needs to learn. Oh, the irony. The one who needed to learn was me. On the fourth day, a gnawing unease finally broke through my stubbornness. I turned my phone back on. A flood of missed calls and frantic texts from Adam crashed in. "Mom, where are you? Call me now. It's Lily. Mum, something's wrong." My heart hammered against my ribs. I called him back, my hand trembling so hard I could barely hold the phone. Adam's voice was strained, terrified. "Mum, you need to come home. Lily, she's sick, really sick." She collapsed. The world tilted. The walls of that cheap motel room felt like they were closing in on me. I didn't even pack. I just ran. The drive home was a blur of tears and prayers, each mile a new wave of guilt crashing over me. What had I done? What kind of mother runs out on her child? I burst through the door of our house to find a scene from a nightmare. Adam was pacing, his face pale. The house was eerily quiet. "Where is she?" I choked out. "The hospital," he said, his voice cracking. "The paramedics just took her. She couldn't breathe properly. She has a really high fever." At the hospital, the wait was agonizing. Every tick of the clock was an accusation. Finally, a doctor came out to speak to us. The words he used were a blur of medical jargon, but the message was terrifyingly clear. "Severe pneumonia," he said. "Complicated by dehydration and exhaustion. We're doing everything we can, but she's very weak." The next 24 hours are critical. I stood outside her room in the ICU, looking through the glass at my daughter, my Lily, lying so still in that big bed, hooked up to a tangle of wires and tubes. She looked so small, so fragile. All the vibrant energy that defined her was gone. And it was my fault. I had left it in her time of need, when a fever was likely just starting. I wasn't there to give her medicine, to hold a cool cloth to her head, to tell her it would be okay. I was miles away, nursing my wounded pride, while my daughter was fighting for her life. Adam came and stood beside me, his silence more damning than any accusation. "She was asking for you, Mum," he finally said, his voice low before she got too weak to talk. "She kept asking when you were coming home. That broke me." I sank onto a bench, the sobs I'd been holding back tearing through me. I wasn't just a bad mother, I was a monster. My stupid, pointless fight had almost cost my daughter everything. In that sterile, quiet hallway, I made a promise. To myself, to the universe, to Lily if she could somehow hear me. If she pulled through this, I would never, ever walk away again. I would listen, I would learn, I would spend the rest of my life making it up to her. I sat by her bedside for 3 days straight, barely eating or sleeping. I held her hand, whispering apologies she couldn't hear, telling her stories from when she was little, begging her to come back to me. Adam brought me coffee and sat with me, a silent, steady presence. He never once said, "I told you so." He just understood. On the 3rd day, I was talking to her, my voice hoarse when I felt it. A faint squeeze, my head snapped up, her eyelids fluttered. "Lily," I whispered, my heart soaring. Her eyes slowly opened, hazy and confused. She looked at me, and a single tear rolled down her cheek. "Mum," she rasped, her voice barely a whisper. "You came back." In that moment, all the anger, all the pride, all the bitterness between us just dissolved. It meant nothing. All that mattered was her, my daughter alive. Lily's recovery was slow, but she was a fighter. As she got stronger, we started to talk. Really talk, for the first time in years. I listened, truly listened, as she told me about the pressures she felt, her fears, her dreams. I told her about my own fears, my feelings of failure, and my overwhelming regret. It wasn't easy. There were more tears. But this time, they were tears of understanding, not anger. We were rebuilding our relationship, brick by painful, honest brick. The fight that nearly destroyed us became the foundation for our second chance. I learned that being a parent isn't about being right. It's about being present. It's about loving your child more than your own pride. That day in the hospital, I didn't just almost lose my daughter. I found her again. And in the process, I found a better version of myself. Our family is still not perfect. We still have disagreements. But now we talk them through. We listen, and I never, ever walk away. My punishment was the terror of those days, the gut-wrenching fear that I was too late. My second chance is every new day I get to see Lily's smile, to hear her laugh, to simply be her mum. It's a gift I will never take for granted again. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you've ever felt that disconnect with someone you love, I hope this encourages you to reach out and listen. Please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories about reconnecting and healing. Take care of each other. I packed a bag, slamming every zipper, every exit, letting fury guide me out the door. I thought she would stop me, run after me, beg me to stay. Instead, she let me go, and I let my ego drive me away from my own child. Days passed, then weeks. I stayed with a friend, refusing every call, ignoring every message. I thought I needed silence, space, time to cool down. But the silence grew heavy. Guilt crept in. I missed my kids, especially Lily. Every night I rehearsed apologies in my head, but never made the call. I assumed she was fine. That was my biggest mistake. After 3 months away, I finally decided to come home. No warning, no message. I wanted to surprise my kids, show them I was ready to make things right. But when I walked into our house, it was silent. No voices, no laughter, no chaos, just cold emptiness. Dishes piled up, clothes scattered. The house looked neglected, as if life itself had paused, waiting for someone to press play again. "Adam," I called out. No answer. My heart started hammering against my ribs. "Lily," I shouted, my voice cracking. Still nothing. A chilling premonition washed over me. I raced up the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, my earlier anger replaced by a tidal wave of dread. I threw open the door to our bedroom. Empty, the kids' rooms the same. Panic clawed at my throat. Where was everyone? I pulled out my phone, my fingers fumbling as I finally dialed Adam's number, the one I'd ignored for weeks. It went straight to voicemail. "Adam, it's me. I'm home. Where are you? Where are the kids? Call me back, please." My voice was a desperate whisper. Then, on the kitchen counter, half hidden under a stack of mail, I saw it. A small, crumpled piece of paper. It was a drawing, Lily's drawing. It showed 2 stick figures, a tall one with a sad face and a smaller one holding its hand. Above them, she'd written in wobbly letters, "Daddy, come back." My knees gave out. I sank to the floor, the drawing clutched in my hand, my body shaking with sobs. What had I done? This wasn't about winning an argument anymore. This was about the family I had shattered. I spent the next hour frantically calling every friend, every family member. No one had seen them. No one knew anything. It was like they had vanished. My mind reeled, conjuring the worst possible scenarios. Was this my fault? Of course it was my fault. I had abandoned them. I was about to call the police when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I answered it in a heartbeat. "Hello," a woman's voice, calm and professional, responded. "Am I speaking with the parent of Lily?" My blood ran cold. Yes. This is her mother. Is she okay? What happened? There was a pause. It felt like an eternity. Ma'am, Lily was brought to the hospital this afternoon. She's stable now, but she had a severe asthma attack. Her father is with her. He asked us to call you. The world tilted on its axis. An asthma attack. Lily hadn't had one that bad in years. The stress, the sadness, it must have triggered it. I grabbed my keys, my hands trembling so hard I could barely fit them in the ignition. The drive to the hospital was a blur of tears and prayers. All I could think about was my little girl lying in a hospital bed, struggling to breathe, because her mother had been too proud to come home. I burst through the hospital doors and found the room number. Outside, I saw Adam, slumped in a chair, his face etched with exhaustion and worry. He looked up as I approached, and for a moment, all the anger we'd ever felt for each other was gone, replaced by a shared gut-wrenching fear. He didn't say a word. He just stood up and pulled me into an embrace. I clung to him, sobbing into his shoulder. I'm so sorry, I choked out. I'm so sorry. He held me tighter. She's been asking for you, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Every single day, he led me into the room. And there she was, my sweet Lily, small and pale in the oversized hospital bed with a little oxygen tube under her nose. Her eyes fluttered open when she heard me. A weak smile touched her lips. "Mummy," she whispered. I rushed to her side, taking her tiny hand in mine. "I'm here, baby. I'm here. And I'm never leaving again." I kissed her forehead, my tears falling onto her hair. In that moment, looking at my daughter's face, I understood. I had been so consumed by my own hurt that I forgot who was truly paying the price. It wasn't about who was right or wrong. It was about being there. It was about love. The next few days were a quiet vigil by Lily's bedside. Adam and I barely spoke, but we didn't need to. We communicated through shared glances, through the simple act of handing each other a cup of coffee. The silence between us was no longer heavy with anger, but filled with a fragile, unspoken understanding. We were both broken, and we were both to blame. While Lily slept, I would watch her, tracing the curve of her cheek with my eyes, memorizing the rhythm of her breathing. I replayed the last 3 months in my head, the selfish pride that had kept me away. I had thought I was punishing Adam, but I had only punished myself, and worse, our children. One afternoon, Adam finally broke the silence. "She kept your picture by her bed," he said, his voice low. "She talked to it every night before she went to sleep, told you about her day." He looked at me, his eyes filled with a pain that mirrored my own. I didn't know how to be both of us. The house fell apart. I fell apart. I reached out and took his hand. We both did, I admitted. I thought leaving would solve something. It just created a bigger problem. It was the first honest conversation we'd had in months. There were no accusations, no defenses. Just two people admitting they had failed. When Lily was finally discharged, walking out of that hospital felt like a rebirth. The air outside seemed fresher, the colors brighter. As we drove home, I held Lily's hand in the back seat, never letting go. Walking back into our house was different this time. The mess was still there, the silent testament to our family's crisis. But it no longer felt cold and empty. It felt like a starting point. That evening, we didn't try to fix everything at once. We ordered pizza and ate it on the living room floor, surrounded by boxes and laundry. Lily, snuggled between us, was giggling at something on TV, and the sound was the most beautiful music I had ever heard. It was the sound of life returning. Adam caught my eye and gave me a small, tired smile. I smiled back. We knew this wasn't the end of our problems. We had a mountain of issues to climb, a deep well of hurt to navigate. Rebuilding trust wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, we were looking in the same direction forward. We had almost lost everything, and that terrifying brush with disaster had given us a painful but necessary gift, a second chance. We had a long road ahead, but we would walk it together. That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, she wrapped her arms around my neck. "I love you, Mummy. Don't go away again." "I won't," I promised, my voice thick with emotion. "I'm right here," and I meant it. I was finally home. This experience reshaped my entire understanding of family and forgiveness. It taught me that running from a problem never solves it. It only delays the inevitable and often makes the consequences far worse. Pride is a lonely companion, and ego is a terrible navigator. In the heat of an argument, it's so easy to focus on our own pain, our own sense of injustice. We build walls to protect ourselves, but those same walls can imprison us and lock out the people we love most. If you're going through a tough time with your loved ones, I urge you, don't let anger make your decisions. Don't let silence become a weapon. Communication is everything. It's not about winning. It's about understanding. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is be the first to say, "I'm sorry," even if you feel you're not the only one at fault. Seek help if you need it, whether from a friend, a family member, or a professional. There are people who can help you find your way back to each other. Life is too short and too precious to let pride steal your time away from those who make your world whole. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content about navigating life's challenges. Take care of each other. I broke every speed limit driving to the hospital. Every single red light felt like a personal punishment, a deliberate delay from a cruel universe. Every second that ticked by was like a knife twisting deeper into my gut. I remember gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were white, my breath catching in my throat. By the time I finally screeched into the hospital parking lot and ran through the automatic doors, my entire body was shaking uncontrollably. The air inside was sterile, cold, and smelled of antiseptic and fear. I stumbled towards the ICU front desk, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. A nurse looked up from her computer, her expression kind but weary. She asked softly, "Are you her mother?" I could only nod. Words were impossible. "She's been asking for you," she said, and with those 6 words, my heart didn't just break, it shattered into a million pieces. She led me through heavy double doors, down a long, silent hallway washed in a cold, unforgiving white light. The only sound was the rhythmic, monotonous beeping of machines. Each beep felt like a mechanical heartbeat, a stark, clinical reminder of just how fragile and precious life truly is. It was a symphony of survival, and I prayed my daughter's note was still playing. And then I saw her, my baby, my Lily. The sight stole the air from my lungs. She was so pale, so frighteningly still, lying amidst a tangle of tubes and wires that clung to her small frame like a spider's web. Her breathing was a shallow, labored effort. Her lips were cracked and dry. Her face, it was thinner. It was as if this sudden, vicious illness had greedily eaten away months of her vibrant youth in just a few days. The daughter I saw just a week ago was gone, replaced by this fragile shadow. I approached the bed, my feet feeling like lead. I was terrified to touch her, terrified to even breathe too loudly. A wave of guilt washed over me, so powerful it threatened to pull me under. I felt like an imposter, a fraud. I didn't deserve to be here, to call myself her mother after the fight we'd had, after the horrible things I'd said. Then her eyelids fluttered open, slow and heavy. Her gaze, cloudy and weak, found mine. "Mum," she whispered. Her voice was barely a breath, a fragile wisp of sound in the sterile room. But that one word, it was everything. It was a plea. It was a question. It was a lifeline thrown across the chasm of pain and regret that had opened up between us. And I broke. The dam I had so desperately tried to build inside me burst, and tears I didn't even know I was holding back crashed down my cheeks in a hot, messy flood. Sobs racked my body. "I'm here, baby," I choked out, stumbling closer to the bed. "I'm right here. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have left. I should have been here. I failed you. Oh God, I failed you." She lifted a weak hand, her fingers trembling with the effort, and she touched my face, her touch as light as a feather. "No," she whispered, and a single tear escaped the corner of her eye, tracing a path down her pale cheek. "You didn't fail me, Mom." Her voice cracked. It's my fault too. I said things I didn't mean. I was so angry. I thought you'd be happier if I didn't bother you anymore. God, that single sentence hurt more than any physical blow possibly could. The thought that my daughter, my world, could ever believe she was a bother to me. It was a stake through my heart. I grabbed her hand, clutching it between both of mine, holding on as if it was the only thing anchoring me to reality, the only thing keeping the world from spinning off its axis. No, I cried, shaking my head frantically, my tears dripping onto our joined hands. Never, you are never, ever a bother. Don't you ever think that. You are my heart, Lily. You are my whole heart. I pressed her hand to my cheek, trying to pour all my love, all my regret, all my desperation for her to be okay through that simple touch. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the fight, not the angry words, not the pride that had kept us apart. All that mattered was her, my daughter, lying in this hospital bed and the terrifying possibility of losing her. I made a silent vow right then and there. If we got through this, if the universe was kind enough to grant us a second chance, I would never let a single day go by without telling her how much I loved her. I would never let pride or anger build a wall between us again. I leaned over and kissed her forehead, my lips lingering on her cool skin. You just focus on getting better, okay, baby? I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. You fight. Mum's right here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here with you for as long as it takes. Her fingers tightened ever so slightly around mine, and in that small gesture I found a flicker of hope. It was a promise. We were still a team, and together we would fight this. Thank you for letting me share this incredibly personal story with you all. It's a reminder that life is short and we should never let disagreements fester. Always hold your loved ones close. If this story touched you, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to me. Thank you for watching. The doctor came in shortly after we arrived. The look on his face told me everything before he even spoke a word. He explained the diagnosis, his voice calm, but the words hitting me like a tidal wave. Lily had a severe autoimmune condition, a silent, invisible enemy that had been attacking her organs while we were busy fighting over trivial things. He said stress was a major trigger, that it made the condition worse. Every argument we had, every tear she shed, it was like I had been pushing her deeper and deeper into this danger without even realizing it. The weight of that realization was crushing. If I had just stayed, if I had been the mother she needed me to be. Maybe we would have caught it sooner. Maybe she wouldn't be lying in this hospital bed, looking so fragile. My voice was barely a whisper when I asked, "Is she going to be okay?" I held my breath, bracing for the worst. The doctor exhaled slowly, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of the world. "We're doing everything we can," he said. "But she needs to be strong, and right now she needs her family." His words weren't an accusation, but they felt like a judgment. My punishment spelled out in cold medical terms. My absence had nearly cost my daughter her life, and now my presence was her only hope for survival. It was a second chance I knew I didn't deserve, but one I would cling to with every fiber of my being. For the next few days and nights, that hospital room became my entire world. I didn't leave her side, not for a second. The world outside ceased to exist. My only focus was Lily. I fed her tiny ice chips when she was too weak to drink. I gently brushed her hair, trying to bring some small comfort, some semblance of normalcy to our shattered lives. I held her hand while she slept, watching the steady rise and fall of her chest, praying with every breath. Adam, my ex-husband, joined our vigil. The anger and resentment that had built a wall between us crumbled away, replaced by a shared, desperate hope. Together, we started to rebuild the family that our pride and anger had shattered. There were moments in the quiet of the night when Lily would wake up, her eyes wide with fear. She'd be crying, her voice small and trembling, asking if I was going to disappear again. Each time, it felt like a knife twisting in my gut, and each time I'd lean in close, wipe her tears, and promise her I'm never leaving you again, sweetie, not even for a minute. And I meant it with every ounce of my soul. I would chain myself to this hospital bed if I had to. I was done running. The weeks crawled by. Each day was a battle, a slow, painstaking process of healing, not just for Lily's body, but for our broken hearts. It was also a journey of slow forgiveness. I had to forgive myself for my selfishness, and she, in her own quiet way, had to forgive me for my absence. It was a fragile truce, built on whispered apologies and shared glances in the sterile quiet of her room. Then, one morning, the doctor walked in with a smile that reached his eyes. He delivered the news that felt like a miracle, a divine intervention. "She's stable," he said. "She's going to make a full recovery." The dam I had built around my emotions finally broke. I didn't just cry. I sobbed, good trenching, heaving sobs of pure, unadulterated relief. The fear and guilt that had been my constant companions for weeks finally washed away, leaving me weak but clean. Through my tears, I felt a gentle squeeze on my hand. I looked up to see Lily, a weak but genuine smile on her face. "So," she whispered, her voice still raspy, "you're stuck with me, huh?" For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I laughed. A real, honest-to-goodness laugh that came from deep within my soul. "Yes," I said, laughing and crying at the same time. "Forever." Going home was surreal. The house that had once felt so suffocatingly quiet now felt different. It was no longer empty. It was filled with a new kind of energy. It was filled with gratitude, with love, and with a profound understanding that life is far too precious and far too short to be wasted on pride. We learned to talk, to really listen to each other. We rediscovered the simple joys of just being together. Sometimes, even now, Lily will apologize for the things she said that day, for the fight that drove me away. But every single time, I stop her and I tell her the truth. "I left because I was angry and hurt," I say, looking her right in the eyes. "But I came back because I love you more than anything else in this world. More than my pride, more than my anger, more than anything." And she smiled that beautiful smile of hers and hugged me a little tighter. And every morning I wake up and I see her, healthy and happy, and I pray that the love we have now is enough. enough to make up for all the time I lost, all the time I spent running away from the one person who needed me the most. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It's been a difficult journey, but one that has taught me so much about love, forgiveness, and what truly matters. If you connected with this story, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It means the world to me. See you in the next one.